Hi everyone and welcome back. So you're thinking about learning a new language, but now you're facing the big question, what language to learn? Well, if you ask Reddit, the answer is quite obvious. Okay, maybe that's not too helpful, but it is a really important question. If you pick the right language, you might ignite a lifelong passion. But if you pick the wrong one, you might get discouraged and stop halfway. So let me start with a personal story here. I went to Mexico City for an exchange during my master's degree, and I was living in a shared flat with some other international students. Some of those were Russian, so that got me interested in the Russian language once again. So I asked one of my roommates to teach me some. We had a conversation somewhat like this. So what's your motivation to learn Russian? Well, I'm working on that Russian flashcard deck for my business. And I also want to understand you guys when you talk to each other in the kitchen. And that's it? Yeah. So you're not interested in Russian literature, culture, or music? No, not really. You'll never be fluent in Russian. And honestly, my friend was right. To this day, I don't speak good Russian. And I think my last conversation in Russian was something like, "Меня зовут Christian." So the truth is, my motivation was just not strong enough. Exploring a vibrant city like Mexico City was so much more exciting than staying at home learning Russian just to be able to understand my roommates. And as far as my business is concerned, in the end, I outsourced the creation of the Russian deck because I felt learning Russian and creating the deck at the same time was just too time-consuming. And this brings us to a key point. You need a strong personal motivation to learn a language. You need to ask yourself the question, why do you want to learn that language? Do you want to go backpacking in South America for several months? Or do you want to boost your career by learning Mandarin Chinese? Maybe you're passionate about anime or Italian opera, or you want to connect to your roots and be able to talk to your family. The stronger the why, the more likely you are to stick to it, even when it gets hard. Another factor to consider is language difficulty. And here, it's not so much about the objective difficulty of a certain language, but it all depends on your native language. For me, as a native German speaker, learning Dutch is way easier than learning Japanese. If you're native in English, there's a helpful list by the Foreign Service Institute ranking languages by difficulty. For example, languages like French or Spanish are considered easier, while German or Indonesian are at medium difficulty, and the real tough ones are Japanese, Chinese, or Arabic. But I don't mean to discourage you from learning Japanese, for example. If you're really motivated, go for it. But if it's the first foreign language you learn, you might want to pick something a bit closer to your native language for a quick win. Next, you have to consider how easy it is to find good resources for that language. Are there textbooks, apps, or good courses available? Are there comprehensible input type of YouTube videos made for beginners? Is it possible to find music, books, or series in that language, ideally with subtitles? And last but not least, can you find native speakers to practice with? While for major languages like Chinese or Spanish, there's an abundance of resources available, it's a bit more tricky for niche languages. I don't say it's impossible, it's just something to keep in mind. Another factor to consider is the sound and feel of the language. Can you imagine yourself listening to that language for hundreds of hours? I think this is the least important factor. For me, when I started learning Chinese, I didn't really like the sound of it. It felt kind of harsh, but now I started to appreciate it and I really love it. So if there was one language I had to recommend, which one would that be? I'd say Spanish. There's millions of people speaking Spanish worldwide, and wherever you go in the world, there always will be a Spanish-speaking community. The cultures of these countries are vibrant and rich, and Spanish is relatively easy to learn for English natives. And then I absolutely love Spanish music. It's relatively easy to reach a conversational level, and that's why motivation usually stays high. So what language I am going to learn next? Probably it will be Czech. At the moment, we're working on a Czech deck for Languages on Fire, and it would be a pity not to use my own product, right? But maybe that's not strong enough of a motivation. Let's see. I guess it would be a smart move to focus on improving the languages I've learned so far, such as Japanese, Italian, or Mandarin Chinese. Keep in mind that that's also an option. you don't have to start learning many new languages. Focusing on the ones you've learned so far might be as rewarding. So now I'm curious, what language are you learning at the moment, or which one are you trying to learn next? Let me know in the comments, and I see you in the next video.